If you're listening to this story at night, then check your phone for a moment. If it's 3:03 a.m., then maybe you should turn the story off right now. Because some voices aren't just heard, they also follow you. It was a cold, rainy October night in Seattle, USA. Raindrops were hitting the large glass windows of his apartment, while a faint flash of lightning lit up the entire sky for a few moments. In a small apartment on the 4th floor, Noah Anderson sat hunched over his computer. He was about 29 years old. Occupation: podcast editor. Listening to other people's recordings all day, removing noise from them, cleaning up the voices, and making them broadcast-worthy. That was his daily life. But there was one habit that all his friends were familiar with. Noah never worked past 3 a.m. Whenever anyone asked him why, he would just laugh and say, "After 3 a.m., the voices change." People thought it was a joke, but no one knew why he said that. That night, he was editing a true crime podcast. His headphones were on. The sound wave on the computer screen was constantly moving. The clock read 2:57 a.m. Noah took a deep breath. Just this last file, he said to himself. At that moment, a strange sound came through his headphones, like someone whispering very softly. "Noah." He sat up straight in shock. He stopped recording. He rewound the timeline and listened again. There was nothing, just silence. "I'm probably tired," he explained himself. The clock showed 3:02 a.m. At that moment, his mobile, which was placed upside down on the corner of the table, suddenly started vibrating. Busy. He picked up the phone. On the screen it said, "New voicemail." Noah furrowed his eyebrows in surprise. At this time, he couldn't remember if anyone had called him today. No missed calls, no number, just a voicemail. He pressed the play button. There was silence for a few seconds. Then, the sound of rapid breathing, like someone was running at full speed. Then, the sound of someone's footsteps. Knock, knock, knock. Noah's heart started beating faster. Suddenly, he heard a voice. That voice belonged to him. If you're listening to this message, a few moments of silence. Then time is very short. Noah's hands started shaking. How can this be my voice? The recording continued. He's standing outside the door. Whatever. Don't open the door. Suddenly, there was the sound of metal scraping in the background. Then a loud explosion. And finally, a scream Noah had never heard in his entire life. Because that scream was his too. The recording ended. Complete silence fell in the room. Noah stared at the screen of his mobile for a while. This is someone's dirty joke, he said to himself. But one thing was strange. The time in the voicemail details was received. Tomorrow, 3:03 a.m. Noah looked again. He thought maybe there was something wrong with the phone. But no, it was clearly written. Tomorrow. That is, this voicemail was received yesterday. Although, yesterday hadn't arrived yet. Noah immediately called his friend Mason Brooks. The phone was off. He texted Emma Carter. There was no answer. Everyone must be sleeping. He consoled himself. But his heart was not ready to believe it. He played the voicemail again. This time with full attention. At first the sound of breathing. Then the sound of footsteps. Then his own voice. And finally, a soft whisper, which he hadn't noticed the first time. When he turned the volume of the headphones up to full, the words came out clearly. Don't tell him. He's listening. Noah immediately took off the headphones. Who's listening? At that moment, the computer screen automatically turned off. The entire apartment was plunged into darkness. The power had gone out. Only the flickering electric light outside occasionally illuminated the room. Noah turned on the flash of his mobile phone. He walked towards the main door. Everything was as usual. No one. He had just turned back when... Stop. There was a knock on the door. He stopped. A few seconds of silence. Then... Stop. A second knock. The words from the voicemail echoed in his mind. Don't open the door. Noah held his breath. Then... A third knock. Stop. His throat went dry. He slowly approached the door. Outside light was coming in from under the door. But no one's footsteps were visible in this light. As if the person standing on the other side of the door wasn't even standing on the ground. Noah's heart started beating fast. At that moment, a familiar voice came from the other side of the door. Soft, slow, and very clear. Noah, that voice was his own. If you want to live, then never open the door. Noah's face turned pale, because outside the door, someone was talking in his own voice. And then, the door handle slowly started turning on its own. Sometimes the scariest voice isn't a stranger's, it's your own. Because if you're standing on the other side of the door yourself, who's inside? Noah's eyes were fixed on the door handle. The handle was slowly turning. Wow. His hands were drenched in sweat. His breathing was becoming erratic. But he kept remembering the same phrase over and over again. Don't open the door. The same phrase that his own voice had said on the voicemail. And now, the same voice could be heard from outside the door. Noah. The voice came from outside again. This time it was quieter than before. I know you're inside. Noah's body stiffened. He took a step back. Then another. The door handle suddenly turned with full force. But the door didn't open. There was just a loud bang. Bang. The entire apartment shook. Noah immediately picked up the phone and dialed 911. Only one message appeared on the screen. No network. Impossible. A few moments ago, there was a signal. He turned on Wi-Fi. No network. Bluetooth turned off automatically. Even the time on the phone started to change. 3:03, then 3:03, then 3:03 again. The seconds weren't moving forward, as if time had stopped. Suddenly, there was complete silence outside the door. So silent that Noah could hear his own heartbeat very loudly. He slowly approached the door. He peered out of the small peephole next to the door. The corridor was empty. No one. Just a long corridor. And a flickering light at the end. Noah breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe it was a joke, he said to himself. As soon as he pulled back. Stop. Someone knocked on the door from inside. Electricity surged through Noah's body. From inside? How was this possible? He was standing inside himself. Then, who knocked? He quickly examined the entire apartment. The bedroom, empty. The kitchen, empty. The bathroom, empty. Every room was exactly the same as it had been a few minutes ago. But one thing had changed. The mirror on the bedroom wall. It was in front of the door before. Now, he was facing the window. Noah stopped. I didn't even touch it. He slowly walked closer to the mirror. He looked at his reflection. Everything was normal. He raised his hand. The mirror also raised its hand. He bowed his head. The mirror also. Noah took a deep breath. I'm going crazy. At that moment, his reflection smiled. But Noah didn't smile. He stepped back in fear. The next moment, the mirror returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. At that moment, the phone vibrated again. New voicemail. Noah's heart pounded. He looked at the screen. This time, no number either. Just a new voicemail. He played with trembling hands. At first, there was only noise. Then, a woman's voice crying. For God's sake, help me. Noah recognized the voice. It was Emma Carter, her closest friend. Emma was crying non-stop. Noah, she's at my house. She said if I call you, he'll leave me. Then suddenly, Emma's scream. And then, silence. The recording ended. Noah immediately called Emma. This time the phone rang. A few seconds later, Emma picked up the call. Hello. Her voice was completely normal. Noah, why are you calling at this time? Noah was surprised. Emma, are you okay? Yes, why? Did something just happen? Emma laughed. No, I was sleeping. Noah fell silent. If Emma is okay, then whose voicemail was it? Listen, Noah said hesitantly. Tonight, don't open the door for anyone. Emma was silent for a few moments. Are you okay? Just listen to me. Okay. The call ended. Noah breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe. He had warned her in time. But as soon as he put the phone on the table, he noticed something strange. A new notification appeared on his phone screen. Voicemail status updated. He opened it. There was now a new line written below the first voicemail. Prediction failed. timeline changed, and there was only one word below the second voicemail. Pending. Noah's blood froze. Were these voicemails predictions of the future? And could he change them? There were still 2 hours until dawn. Noah decided he would stay awake. He sat down on the couch. He turned on all the lights in the room. He turned on the TV too, just so that there wouldn't be silence. But after a few minutes, the TV automatically turned off. Only an image remained on the screen, a black background and a white door in the middle. The door slowly opened. Noah tried to turn off the TV with the remote. The remote wasn't working. He pulled a plug, but the TV was still on. And from inside that white door, a black shadow started to emerge. At that moment, a voice came from the TV. The same voice. That was Noah's own. I told you. Don't open the door. But now.
He's seen you.
The next moment, the TV screen went completely black. And behind Noah, right next to his ear, someone whispered, "Now it's your turn." Noah looked back, trembling, but there was no one there. Only a new voicemail notification was flashing on the floor. Received. Tomorrow 3:03 a.m. Some calls don't come from the future. They come from something that doesn't exist within time. And when he knows your name, then no door in the world can save you. 7:46 a.m. The sun was shining through the window. The rain had stopped. Everything seemed perfectly normal. But the night wasn't over for Noah yet. He hadn't slept a single moment all night. Sitting on the couch, his eyes were fixed on the phone screen. 3 voicemails. All 3 different. All 3 impossible. And all 3 had one thing in common. His own voice. Noah tried to reason with himself. It's all mental stress. I've been working nonstop for days. I just need a break. But then his eyes fell on the TV. The TV was off. But in its black screen, a reflection of someone was visible. Noah was shocked. He turned around immediately. The room was empty. He looked at the TV again. Now, there was only his own reflection. I'm going crazy. He grabbed his head. At that moment, the phone rang. Mason Brooks calling. Noah immediately picked up the call. Mason, dude, are you okay? There was laughter from the other end. What's wrong with me? Why are you asking me this so early in the morning? Noah tried to tell me what had happened all night, but every time he said the word voicemail, a strange snoring would start in the call. SHHHHHH. As if someone was deliberately distorting the sound. Finally, Mason said, "Man, you've been awake for 2 days straight. Take a break. Give your brain a break." The call ended. Noah sat still. Maybe he really needed a break. But then, his eyes fell on the laptop. It had turned on automatically. He hadn't even pressed the power button. There was only one folder visible on the screen. Listen carefully. Noah's hand stopped. He was sure. This folder didn't exist last night. He opened the folder. There was only one audio file inside. The name was Noah_final.wave. His heart started beating faster. He played the file. At first, there was silence. Then, his own voice. If you're hearing this, then it means he's reached your computer too. Noah's breath hitched. The voice continued. Now listen carefully to what I'm going to say. He doesn't see the future. He creates the future. And everyone who hears his voice is added to his list. Suddenly, the recording stopped. Noah immediately played the file again. But this time, the same file was empty. Just complete silence. As if someone had just erased the sounds from it. His heart was beginning to believe it now. This was no joke. Something was really happening. That afternoon, Noah went straight to his office. He worked for a small audio production company. He asked his boss for permission and entered the recording studio. The best audio software in the world was there. If someone had edited the sound, he would have caught it immediately. He transferred the first voicemail to the computer. The waveform appeared. Everything seemed normal. But as soon as he opened the spectrum analyzer, his eyes widened. Inside the sound waves, an image had formed. An image in the audio? It couldn't be. Noah zoomed in on the image. It was a human face, but it didn't have eyes. Just 2 black holes. and on his face, an unnatural, excessively long smile. Noah closed the file in a panic. At that moment, a voice came from behind him. Did you see that too? Noah turned around in shock. Standing at the door was Daniel Harris, the company's old sound engineer, a man of about 60, always silent. Sir, when did you come? Daniel didn't answer. He came straight to the computer, looked at the screen. Then he spoke slowly. It's too late. Noah was surprised. Do you know what this is? Daniel was silent for a moment. Then he spoke. 15 years ago. I also received a voicemail like this. Noah's heart stopped. What? Daniel began to say, while sitting in the chair. At first there is only one call. Then another. Then every night. And finally, you hear your own voice, which is describing your death. Noah's hands began to tremble. Then what happened? Daniel lowered his eyes. The 7 people who worked with me died one by one. Only I survived, because I had accepted a rule. Noah spoke immediately. What rule? Daniel slowly raised his head. The fear was clearly visible in his eyes. After 3:03 a.m., never listen to your own voice. Noah was about to ask something else, when suddenly the power to the entire studio went out. Darkness fell everywhere. Only the emergency lights were on. Everything seemed scary in the dim red light. At that moment, the studio speakers automatically turned on, and from them, one by one, dozens of voices began to be heard. Men, women, children, they were all screaming at the same time. Don't open the door. He's here. Run. He's standing behind you. Noah covered his ears. But instead of stopping, the voices grew louder. Then, all the voices suddenly fell silent. And only one voice remained. That Noah's own voice. Don't turn back. Noah's entire body went silent as soon as he heard this. He clearly felt that someone was standing right behind him, near his neck. He could feel cold breaths. But he remembered Daniel's words. After 3:03 a.m., don't listen to your own voice. Noah closed his eyes. He wanted to turn around, but he stopped himself. The room was completely silent. Then, right next to his ear, a low whisper was heard. You've passed the first test. Now the real game will begin. Noah took courage and slowly opened his eyes. On the wall in front of him, there was only one sentence written in blood. You are number 8. And below it, 7 names had already been cut out. The 8th name, Noah Anderson. Every victim has a turn, but if you knew your turn in advance, could you really avoid it? Noah's breath hitched. His name written in blood on the wall. Noah Anderson. He couldn't believe he was awake or trapped in a nightmare. He touched the wall with a trembling hand. The blood was still wet. His fingers turned red.
He took a step back.
At that moment, the power to the entire studio came back on. The lights came on. The computers turned back on. And the wall was completely clean. No blood. No name. As if nothing had happened a few moments ago. Did you see that too? Noah looked back in horror. But Daniel was gone. The chair was empty. His jacket wasn't there either. Noah looked around the studio. There was silence everywhere. He ran out. The woman sitting at the reception, Sophie, asked in surprise, Noah, are you okay? Where did Daniel go? Sophie was silent for a moment. Who is Daniel? Noah said uncertainly. Daniel Harris, sound engineer. Sophie's face became serious. Noah, Daniel Harris died 10 years ago. A cold wave ran through Noah's body. No. I just came back from talking to him. Sophie shook her head. His death was strange too. People say he kept saying the same thing over and over again on his last day. She stopped. Noah asked anxiously.
What?
Sophie spoke softly. Don't make yourself heard after 3:03. Noah walked out of the building without saying a word. There was only one question in his mind. If Daniel had died 10 years ago, then who was he talking to today? Around dusk, Noah went straight to the city's public library. He opened the digital records of old newspapers. Typed in the search bar, Daniel Harris, A few seconds later, a news story appeared. Mysterious death of local audio engineer.
Date:
October 14th, 2016. Noah began to read the news. Daniel Harris was found dead in his recording studio. According to police, the room was locked from the inside. There were no injuries on the body, but his face showed signs of intense fear. Dozens of audio cassettes were recovered from the scene, but all the recordings on them were blank. Noah's heart started beating fast. There was also a picture below. The same person he had met a few hours ago. Suddenly, the computer screen changed automatically. The news disappeared. In its place was only a video file. Play? Noah immediately removed the mouse. He didn't click, but the video started playing automatically. The video was from an old security camera.
Date:
October 14th, 2016. That is, a few minutes before Daniel's death. Daniel was sitting alone in the studio. He was constantly talking to someone, but there was no one else in the room. Suddenly, he stopped. He slowly looked at the camera. Then, he pointed straight at the screen and said, "Noah, if you're watching this?" Noah's breath stopped. "This is impossible." Daniel said again, "He's found you too. Listen to me carefully. If the phone rings at 3:03 tonight, then don't pick up the call." The video suddenly stopped. Noah quickly tried to replay the video. The file had disappeared, as if it had never existed. At 9:18 p.m., Noah arrived back at his apartment. He closed the door, locked all the windows, turned off the phone, removed the laptop battery, unplugged the TV as well. He said to himself, "There won't be any calls today." Time passed slowly. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2:55 a.m. Noah started staring at the clock. Every second seemed so heavy. 3:02 a.m. Silence. 3:03 a.m. The phone was off, but still, it started vibrating. Noah looked at the phone in fear. The screen was off, but the vibration was on. Then, the phone turned on automatically. There was only one word written on the screen. Live call. This time, it wasn't a voicemail. Someone was calling directly. No number. No name. Just unknown. Noah didn't even touch the phone. The call automatically went on speaker. There was complete silence for the first few seconds. Then, a child's laughter was heard. Soft, scary, and unnatural. After that, a male voice spoke. "Finally, you heard me?" Noah asked in a trembling voice. "Who are you?" There was silence on the other side for a few moments. Then the voice started laughing. "You may know me by many names, but the people who heard my voice, they only called me by one name." Noah asked helplessly, "What name?" The next moment, all the lights in the entire apartment went off at once. An image appeared on the phone screen. A tall, black being, whose face was completely hidden in darkness. Only two white eyes, and an inhuman smile. At that moment, that voice came from the phone again. Slowly, but very clearly. "I am the listener." And then, at that moment, Noah's bedroom door, which was locked from the inside, slowly began to open on its own. Not every monster hunts, some just listen. But the day they remember your voice, from that day on, your life will no longer be yours. The bedroom door was slowly creaking open.
Oh.
Noah stood silently by the sofa. The phone was still in his hand. The same black being was on the screen. Two white eyes, and a smile that could never be on a human face. Then, the screen suddenly went black. The call ended automatically, but the bedroom door had opened completely. It was completely dark inside the room. Only the faint moonlight coming from the window was falling on the floor. Noah mustered up the courage and turned on the flash of his mobile phone. The light slowly started moving around the room. The bed, the chair, the wardrobe, everything was in its place. He took one step inside, the second step, the third footsteps. Suddenly, from inside the closet, there was the sound of someone's nails rubbing against the wood. Snort. Noah's heart stopped. The sound kept getting louder. Snort, snort, as if someone was trying to get out from inside. Noah slowly approached the closet. His hands were shaking. He grabbed the handle. He closed his eyes for a moment and opened the door with all his strength. The closet was empty. Only an old tape recorder was kept inside, full of dust. Although Noah had never seen that recorder in his life, as soon as he touched the recorder, it started automatically. The tape started spinning. Then, a woman's frightened voice was heard. "If anyone finds this recorder, then please listen to it and finish it. Because if this sound reaches anyone else, gone. So, he will die like us." Suddenly, a loud scream echoed in the recording. Then silence. Noah tried to turn off the recorder, but the buttons weren't working. The recorder kept playing. Now a man's voice was heard. "There were 8 of us. We thought it was just a rumor, but we were wrong. He doesn't kill humans. He steals their voices." Noah's body started to tremble. Then a phrase started to be heard over and over again in the recording. "The first law. The first law. The first law." Suddenly, the recorder went silent, and then a very soft whisper was heard. "Never say his name out loud." At that moment, Noah realized that he had just said a few minutes ago he said it himself on the phone. The listener, his face turned pale. I called his name." Suddenly, a strange sound began to echo throughout the apartment, as if hundreds of people were whispering at once. From every wall, from every window, from every room, only one sentence could be heard. "He called our name. He called him. He's coming." Noah ran out of the room. He opened the door. He reached the corridor. But this wasn't the corridor of his building. The floor was old wood. The walls were rusty iron. Broken wires were hanging from the ceiling. And on both sides, there were thousands of old telephones. Some were hanging on the walls. Some were lying on the floor. Some were hanging from the ceiling. And every phone started ringing at once. Trer, 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 so loud that Noah covered his ears. Then all the phones went silent at once. Only one phone was ringing, red, with only one number written on it in white paint. 8. The same number that was written on the wall with his name. Noah slowly approached the phone. The phone kept ringing. He picked up the receiver trembling. On the other side, someone was breathing, just breathing. Then a little girl's voice came. "Noah, can you hear me? My name, Lily is." I was number 7. A cold wave ran through Noah's body. "Number 7? The girl cried. It started. He took my voice. "Now he's coming for you. You only have." At that moment, the call suddenly ended. Noah put the receiver down. But now, all the phones started ringing again. This time, the same voice was coming from each phone. "Noah, Noah, Noah." Thousands of voices, but everyone's voice was his own. He ran with all his might. An iron door appeared at the end of the corridor. He opened the door, and the next moment, he was back in his apartment, as if nothing had happened. But he still had that old tape recorder in his hand. Noah panicked and put it on the table. At that moment, the tape recorder started up again automatically. This time, the voice was not someone else's. It was Noah's own voice. But those words, Noah had never said. "If you're listening to this recording, then that means I'm dead." Noah's eyes widened in fear. The recording continued. I tried to stop the listener, but the real mistake was a few seconds of silence. Then, a sentence that changed Noah's entire world. He wasn't chasing me, he was living inside me. At that moment, the tape recorder stopped, and for the first time, Noah saw his own shadow, separate from his body. The shadow slowly began to climb the wall. Then, he turned his head, and he smiled. Every person has a shadow, but if one day your shadow is no longer yours, then understand that someone else has come to take your place. Noah's own shadow, standing on the wall. But Noah was not moving. Still, the shadow was slowly tilting its head to one side. And he was smiling. a smile. That was impossible on a human face. Noah took a step back in fear. At that moment, the shadow also took a step forward. But it did not come down from the wall. It was just walking on the wall, as if gravity did not affect it. Who are you? Noah's voice was trembling. The shadow remained silent. Then, the walls around it slowly began to darken. Everything in the apartment, the sofa, the table, the windows, everything began to dissolve into darkness. Only Noah and his shadow remained. Then, the shadow spoke for the first time, but his lips did not move. The voice echoed straight into Noah's mind. I am not your shadow. I am your last testimony. The next moment, the ground disappeared from under Noah's feet. He began to fall into the darkness. Down, and down, and down. As he fell, he could hear thousands of voices. Someone's scream, someone's prayer, someone's last breath. Then, suddenly, he fell to the ground. When he opened his eyes, he was in a strange place. An old cemetery stretched for miles ahead. But this was no ordinary cemetery. There were no names written on the graves here. Each grave had only a number.
1, 2,
3, 4. And far away, amid the fog,
8.
Noah slowly moved forward. At the head of each grave was an old telephone. Some phones were ringing continuously. Some were silent. Suddenly, a child's voice came from one phone. Help. From another phone, an old man's voice. Don't listen to him. From the third phone, only the sound of crying. Noah looked away in fear. He stopped in front of grave number 7. Next to the grave was a small picture. The same girl, Lily, the one who had called herself the 7th victim on the phone. Noah picked up the picture. There was only one sentence written on the back. We don't die. We just become its voice. At that moment, all the phones in the entire cemetery started ringing at once. TRRR, TRRR, TRRR. Thousands of phones. Thousands of voices. Then, all the phones went silent at once. From within the fog, someone was seen walking. A very tall being. Black coat, long arms, and a face in complete darkness. Only 2 white eyes. The listener. Noah's feet seemed to stick to the ground. He wanted to run, but his body wasn't moving. The being slowly approached him, then stopped just a few feet away. There was silence for a long time. Then he said clearly for the first time, You want to know? Who am I? Noah nodded, daring to speak. The listener looked up at the sky. I was once human. A long time ago. I also used to save voices. People used to leave their last words with me. Then, one night, I heard a voice that did not belong to any living person. And that day, my own voice was taken from me. Noah listened silently. Since then, the listener said, I am not alive, and not dead either. I only exist among voices. Whoever hears me becomes a part of my world. Noah said, angrily, Then why do you kill people? The listener started laughing. The entire cemetery shook with his laughter. I don't kill anyone. I just take their voice. The rest of the work does their own fear. Suddenly, the listener extended his hand towards Noah. In his hand was an old voice recorder, the same model that was found in Noah's house. Here, this is your last recording. Noah took the recorder in surprise. There was only a date written on it. Tomorrow. At that moment, the earth began to shake violently. All the graves began to open at once. Not bodies, but black shadows began to emerge from inside them. Each shadow was in the shape of a human being, but they all had the same face. Noah's. Thousands of Noahs stood silent, and they all spoke at once. We are you, and you will soon become like us. Noah backed away in fear, but his foot hit grave number 8. He looked down. His name was written in full on the grave, Noah Anderson, and there was only a time written in front of the date of death, 3:03 a.m. Suddenly the grave opened by itself. Inside, a coffin was placed. The lid of the coffin slowly opened. Noah looked inside, And he screamed, because inside the coffin
Was his own body.
But that wasn't the scariest thing. The scariest thing was that his body's eyes suddenly opened, and she smiled and said, "Finally, you came on time." The scariest moment is not when you see your own corpse, but when your corpse starts talking to you. Noah's entire body went numb. Inside the coffin, his own corpse was lying there. White face, dull blue eyes, a strange smile on his lips. And then, the corpse slowly turned its head towards Noah. "Are you scared?" The voice was also Noah's. Noah took 2 steps back. This can't be true." The corpse started laughing. "Are you still looking for the truth? You're too late, Noah." A strong wind suddenly blew through the cemetery. Thousands of telephones rang at once. Trer, trer, trer. Only one sentence was heard from each phone. "Time is running out." Noah gathered all his courage. "Who are you?" The corpse remained silent. Then he slowly got up from the coffin and sat up. "I am you." But that Noah, the one who opened the door. Noah's heart almost stopped. "Which door?" The corpse raised its finger towards the fog. Suddenly, the entire cemetery began to disappear. In its place appeared an old apartment. The same apartment where Noah lived. And in front of the door, another Noah stood. The time was on the clock. 3:03 a.m. There were 3 knocks on the door. Knock, knock, knock. After a moment of hesitation, he opened the door. As soon as the door opened, there was no one outside. Only an old mobile phone was lying on the floor. The phone was ringing continuously. This Noah picked up the phone. As soon as he put it to his ear, his eyes turned white. His mouth opened. And from his body, a black smoke started to come out. A few seconds later, he fell to the ground, lifeless. The scene returned to the cemetery again. The corpse sitting in the coffin spoke. This was the first Noah. He picked up the call. "He died." Noah asked in a trembling voice. "First, what does that mean?" The corpse smiled. "You're not the first. You're not even the 8th. Every time, when someone falls victim to the listener, the world starts over." Noah suddenly understood everything. That's why. Every voicemail came from the future. The corpse shook his head. That wasn't the future. That was a recording of the previous cycle. The voice recorder in Noah's hand suddenly started playing automatically. This time, it only had one sentence. Cycle number 8 complete. Then, a new voice was heard. Cycle number 9 initializing. Noah's face turned pale. "No, it's not over." At that moment, the listener emerged from the fog again. Behind him stood thousands of shadows. They were all silent, but their faces, all were like Noah's. The listener slowly approached Noah. Then, for the first time, he showed his face. Noah screamed, because the listener's face, it was his own face, but very old. The eyes were completely white. The skin was burnt, and that terrible smile on his lips. "Do you understand now?" The listener said slowly. "I am not a monster. I am your end." After each cycle, one Noah survives, and he becomes the next listener. Tears welled up in Noah's eyes. "So, there's no way I can escape?" The listener remained silent. And he put the phone with one last voicemail in Noah's hand. It was written on the screen. One final message. "If you play this recording, then maybe this series will end forever. But it will cost your own voice." Noah gripped the phone tightly. On one hand, his life. On the other, the lives of thousands of innocent people. He closed his eyes. He took a deep breath. And he put his finger on the play button. At that moment, the listener panicked for the first time. His smile disappeared. And he screamed loudly,
"Noah,
don't do that." Every scary story has an ending, but some stories are not meant to end. They're just looking for their next victim. Noah's finger was paused on the play button. The listener stood in front of him. For the first time, there was fear in his eyes. The same creature who had stolen the voices of thousands of people. He seemed scared himself today. "Don't do that." The listener's voice trembled for the first time. If you play this recording, then I won't be the only one to end. You will end too. Noah remained silent. He looked at the cemetery. Thousands of graves. A telephone beside each grave. Inside each phone, the last voice of some human being was imprisoned. Suddenly, all the phones started ringing at once. TRR, TRR, TRR.
Then,
one by one, voices started coming out of them. Free us too. For God's sake. We've been waiting for a long time. Tears welled up in Noah's eyes. He asked softly, if I play this recording, will they all be free? The listener didn't answer. He just kept watching him silently. This silence was the answer. Noah took a deep breath, and he pressed play. For the first few seconds, there was complete silence.
then,
A voice came from the speaker. It wasn't Noah's voice, nor the listener's. It was the voice of a very old man. Heavy, and strangely sad. If you're listening to this, then that means you made the same decision that I couldn't have made hundreds of years ago. The entire cemetery began to shake. The ground began to crack. All the telegraph wires where the phones started to break one by one. Thousands of voicemails began to ring simultaneously.
then,
All the sounds turned into a white light. That light started to rise towards the sky.
1, 2,
10, 100, thousands of lights. Each light was a free spirit. The listener screamed for the first time, a scream that shook the earth. His body slowly began to break. His black skin began to turn into ash and fly away. He reached out his hand to Noah. You don't know. What did you do? Noah replied quietly. I just freed them. At that moment, the listener completely turned into ash. A gust of wind came, and the ash scattered into the air. Then, complete silence everywhere. It was so quiet that Noah couldn't even hear his own heartbeat for the first time. Suddenly, Noah felt that his own voice had disappeared.
he tried to speak.
But no sound came out. He remembered what the listener had said. The price will be your own voice. He understood. He had set everyone free, but he had lost his voice forever. A few moments later, the cemetery slowly began to disappear. Noah closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he was in his apartment. It was morning. Sunlight was streaming in through the window. Phone. Laptop. Everything was normal, as if nothing had happened. According to the police report, that night, the bodies of people who had been missing for years were found all over the city. They met in different places. Each corpse had a calm expression on its face, as if they had finally been set free. But there was one strange thing they all had in common. In their hands, old mobile phones. With no voicemail, Noah quit his job. He settled in a small town far from the city. He no longer talked to anyone, because
He couldn't speak.
people called him a silent man. But every night, at exactly 3:03 a.m., he would wake up and look at his phone silently. 2 years passed. No call ever came. Noah was convinced that everything was over.
Then,
One night, 3:03 a.m., his phone rang for the first time. On the screen was written, "Unknown caller." Noah's hands started shaking. He didn't answer the call. Picked up. The phone automatically hung up. A few seconds later, a notification came. New voicemail sent. Noah was surprised. Sent, not received.
sent.
He opened the voicemail. There was only a 5-second recording inside. First, complete silence. Then, a small child's voice. Hello. Is this Noah Anderson? I got a strange call tonight, too. I got a strange call at 3:03 a.m. Please help me. Noah's eyes widened in fear. He wanted to answer. He wanted to scream. He wanted to say, "Don't listen to the call. Don't open the door. Throw the phone away." But he had no voice. At that moment, the phone screen went black, and white words appeared on it. The listener is gone. A few seconds later, the words changed automatically.
Now.
Someone else is listening.
End.
And if tonight, At exactly 3:03 a.m., you get a voicemail on your phone, remember? You don't have to answer every call.